All right, so I'm doing some more work on here. I've got the turbo downpipe tacked into place. So it's just a simple pipe with a couple 90s, and it just goes down and ties into my original exhaust. Eventually I'm gonna redo the whole exhaust system, but that's where the downpipe ends. I put a V-band clamp in there. Currently I'm running a catalytic converter still, and a muffler, because this thing is I've kept it street legal, and so it still has to pass my Oregon emissions testing. But I've actually let the tags lapse because I haven't used it on the street in a long time. So depending on what I do, I may end up getting rid of the cat, and just then from that point on, it would only be off-road. So got that tacked in place. I'm gonna actually take this. A friend has a hot rod shop, and he did this stainless welding for me, all this nice TIG welding on my turbo manifold. So I'm gonna have him weld this up, since it's an easily removable part. So I got that done. I think I already showed this. This is finished from the turbo to the intercooler. And now I just got this piece mocked up from the intercooler up to the throttle body. So this was kind of a weird shape to try to figure out, so it's in 3 pieces. And I'm not real excited about it being welded, because any burn through or whatever, it would be hard to get to clean. And I just don't trust it, because any metal flakes or anything will just get blown right into the engine. So now that I've got this tacked together, I'm gonna take this piece back to the mandrel bending shop and have them copy this in one piece. And I'm really thinking about going to stainless steel, just so that I don't have to worry about corrosion. And again, if you missed it, he's not set up to do 2 1/4 in aluminum. He doesn't have the proper tooling. And I like the idea of either steel or stainless steel, so that as the front tires throw rocks, this will just be a lot tougher. I end up having to cut one of my hood mounts, so I'm going to rebuild this to clear this tube now. So that's that for the engine stuff. I'm waiting on some hose I ordered to hook that up. And then a part I ordered the other day showed up. So I run a steering quickener in this. And you can see the top of it there, that kind of shiny aluminum bell looking thing. Currently that's a 1.5 to 1. So as you turn the wheel 1 turn, the box sees a 1.5 turns. And I bought this guy to try. This is a 2 to 1. So 1 turn at the wheel gives the box 2 turns. Just to help speed it up. For most stuff like the sand dunes and King of the Hammers, like that 1.5 is awesome. But the rallycross racing, the tracks are so twisty, and they're typically pretty low traction, and so there's a lot of kind of sliding around and stuff. So I just figured the faster ratio would be nice. And this Toyota steering box, these are pretty slow. They're like 4 total turns, lock to lock. And so that slow ratio and a short wheelbase, it can get pretty hairy. Like if you're hauling ass through the whoops and the back end kicks out on you or something, like you've got to be able to steer fast to catch it, to keep from rolling. And so now I'm going to give that one a try. That 2 to 1 should be cool. I think that's all I've done since the last clip. But I'm liking, this has all turned out pretty nice. It's taken me a couple tries to get like good clearances around all this, so as the engine vibrates on the mounts, nothing's going to hit and try to bind up or pull a thing loose. So now my last thing is my intake. I've got to get some material. I've bought a couple cheap U-bends and stuff. I think I'm just going to basically clamp together a couple pieces, and then the same thing, take this whole thing off and take it to the mandrel shop and have it copied in one piece. So pretty stoked, it's coming along. I like that, you know, it's kind of symmetrical, my pipes, but obviously can't be perfect, but I think it looks pretty cool. Not that that's the primary consideration, but for me, that's usually, it's kind of up there on the list. Like, anybody can make stuff, but you might as well try to make it look cool. You know, that's why I always spend a little time doing stuff like this. So I'm gonna, I guess, start working on that air intake and see how that turns out. All right, I'll come back when I got more to show. Okay, made a pretty decent little milestone here. I bought a bunch of like exhaust pipe pieces just to make a mock-up. So that's my air intake tube. I'm not super happy with this, just due to its length. And it's kind of just laying weird. It'll have brackets. But in reality, it's not that much longer than a lot of like cold air kits on modern cars. So it just looks a little weird, but there's just literally nowhere in the engine bay to put an air filter. And I run a pretty good size air filter on this thing. I'm a little embarrassed to show this for how dirty it is, but I think it's 10 inches long and 5 inch or 6 inches in diameter, 3 inch opening. And so that's where that pipe comes through the firewall, and then the filter goes on there, and then there's a bracket that bolts those two holes in the firewall to support the end of it. So I think it's gonna work. And maybe I change it down the road. We'll see how it works. But as far as, you know, when it's sitting in its right spot, there's plenty of leeway for these guys. And that helps shield them from the heat. And then I also got, you really can't see it, the little fiberglass, you can't see it, little fiberglass spark plug boots. And then I'll probably wrap this with some of the like stick-on reflective, like that gold or whatever heat shield when I get the, you know, the new aluminum one. I'll do this section in that to help radiate, you know, to block the heat from soaking into this tube. You know, I don't want to I don't want to heat up the air before it even enters the turbo. So I think it's going to work okay. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like a little weird looking, but what are you going to do? You know, with the amount of space I had to work with, and, you know, I can only clock, being that it had its own built-in wastegate, I can only clock the turbo so much. And this is just really as good as it gets. I pulled the intercooler piping off. I've decided to have them remake it in stainless, just so I don't have any corrosion issues. And so the driver's side is just a nice single piece, easy one. Like I showed before, this is in a couple pieces, so I'm going to take this to the guy so he can copy it in one piece. And then this is my exhaust downpipe. I got the V-band flanges tacked on. So I'm going to take this to a guy I know that does really nice stainless TIG welding. Have him weld those up. And then I've got the other end on my exhaust pipe. I'm just going to wire feed that because my exhaust back here is just mild steel. Eventually the plan is I'm going to rebuild my transfer case mounting. I'm happy with how strong it is and how well it supports the case, but it's kind of a nightmare to get the transfer case out. So I'm gonna do some major rework with that at some point. You know, it's not one of those projects I want to do just to do. So maybe the next time I have to pull the T case out, I'll do it. I do swap the T case from time to time because in the rallycross and sand dunes, I run a stock transfer case, stock gears. And then for, you know, any kind of rock crawling, I have a 489 geared one that I put in. And so I want to build this whole belly to where that's a quicker project. It's about a whole day, honestly, start to finish to do a swap, and it kind of sucks. It's just one of those things, you know, I built this thing in kind of a hurry, and I was just super focused on strength and, you know, supporting the case well and grabbing more points and all that stuff. And it was built basically from inside the car, from the top down. And then once all the paneling got put in the seats and blah, 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 like, it's pretty hard to get to all the stuff. And you have to like take some of the brackets loose from the case, move it, do other stuff before it can finally weasel out of there. So I basically want to build a whole like kind of removable subframe that the transfer case will mount in, and then that whole thing will just slap up into the bottom. But that's a project for another day. So once I get these parts back, just about there. You know, just these super easy hoses. That's a 10-minute job. And then be ready to get this thing tuned. So I'm pretty stoked. I'll probably try to do a pretty complete tuning process video, depending on how much the guy wants to work with me on that. You know, I don't want to get in his way and make it take longer. But if we can do some stuff, you know, do some videoing with it, that'd be kind of cool. So I'm excited, you know, in talking to somebody in the comments, they made me feel pretty good about this turbo choice, about it spooling up early. So I'm hoping with that kind of early spool up, it'll help with my kind of low end issue with, I feel like I had like a reversion issue. You know, I've talked to a whole bunch of different people about this, and you know, with that design of header and the cam being kind of opposites to each other, and you know, it may have been you know, exhaust could have been like backflowing into the combustion chambers at low RPMs until things got in a rhythm. So I'm hoping the turbo helps push that through, and even if it, you know, blows unspent or unburnt fuel out the exhaust during that time, that's fine as long as it runs. Just really want this thing to pull out of corners better. It's kind of tough, like in the rallycross stuff. You come screaming into a corner, and you know, I've got to go through the corners fairly slow to keep it on all four wheels. And you know, if it had a little more grunt out of the bottom. And I think some people are probably confusing what I mean by this. You know, this thing, it honestly runs pretty bad down low with that issue I'm having. It's a lot like riding like a two-stroke dirt bike. Like, it's just got nothing until you hit like 4,000-ish RPMs, and then it pulls pretty hard. But you know, trying to keep it on the pipe like it just makes for a lot more shifting. And then, you know, you only got from 4 to 6,500. So it's got a pretty narrow usable range. And so to expand on that, even if I got, you know, 1,000 more RPMs would be huge. So that's kind of what I've been talking about, and the fear I had with, initially the fear I had with using this cam. But you know, knowing that this engine did run pretty strong on the bottom before with my original header, I'm just, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. We'll just have to wait and see. But I kind of feel like it's going to work. So I will probably do one more quick clip when I've got all the new finished pipes in place, just to show what those look like. And then the next video after that will most likely be the tuning. All right, so we'll come back when I've got the new pipes in place. All right, so here's that pipe out of the car. It's super ugly, but I used a couple, you know, I bought a couple like 2-foot chunks of 3-inch pipe at the auto parts store, and they came with this belled out end on one end. That actually came in handy because it gave me a little bit of freedom for its length and for the twist, you know, because these two bins are on different planes. So it was actually kind of handy. It gave me a little bit, you know, then the ends would, I mounted the air filter and got this side set up coming through the firewall, and then basically started this end working towards it, and worked out pretty good. Like I said, freedom for the plane, and a little bit, you know, each one of these, you got about 1 inch of lengthwise play, so worked out pretty good. Hopefully the guy can use this well as a guide or a pattern for the nice one-piece pipe. I got to remember to check with him too if he can do the little raised bead on the ends of all this stuff. Well, not that, but of these guys. So that's it for today. I'm going to get these ran down to the shop, and hopefully his turnaround time is okay, and get this thing put back together. All right, just got back from doing some running around. Got the hose to hook up the water-cooled turbo lines, and then I picked up my downpipe. Had a guy at a local hot rod shop weld this up for me. So I don't do TIG welding, unfortunately. So I'm gonna get these reinstalled, or this downpipe reinstalled, and hook up this hose. And the last thing I'm waiting on is getting this piece back that I mocked up, and 2 new pipes for the intercooler. I went ahead and decided to go with stainless steel for durability mostly. These guys on both sides of the intercooler are going to be, you know, could have rocks thrown at them from the front tires. So I figured stainless steel would be best. And in this case, for these tubes here, he's not able to bend aluminum in that size. But even if he could, I just don't think the aluminum's a great idea. And then this pipe is going to be stainless steel as well. One, for cost, I was kind of surprised to find out that the grade of aluminum you need you can bend is very expensive. And mostly because it's not very available. Most of the stuff you find would crack when you bend it. So, and one side benefit, being that it's going to be going next to the turbine housing here, it's a little better at reflecting heat versus absorbing it like aluminum would be. But it's going to get some sort of reflective insulation on it anyway. But so that pretty much wraps that up. Once I get this downpipe and these hoses put on, I'm just waiting on my intercooler lines and it's finished. Pretty excited. So I'm gonna get to work doing this stuff, and then I'll come back when I've got those parts. All right, so I'm getting these water lines or coolant lines run for the turbo. So I started here on the fittings, and I'm working my way around. And I figured I'd show real quick. And I got obviously the hood and the cowl I pulled off. So it kind of gives a better look at this thing. One thing I like and don't like at the same time, I basically pulled the firewall back and angled it when I built this thing. I mean, I didn't pull it back. I mean, the whole body was removed, and this is what it was replaced by. It was just all tubing and aluminum sheet metal. But a lot of the time you see like these intrusion bars on rigs and they don't really do anything, honestly. Except maybe keeping something from coming through your window. But I spent some time on this when I built this thing. So you can see everything kind of converges there in the center and into that. And then, you know, this horizontal dash bar underneath of the intrusion bar, it runs all the way down to the frame rail. So there's basically the same thing on this side. You can't see it because it's actually behind. Can't really see it there either, but so all the loads that if you were to land hard on the side and this try to get shoved over, there's basically a giant triangle that's directly frame mounted that can't move because it's a triangle. And these aren't like structurally perfect, but you know, the loads, I try to make everything triangles. That's you know, basically important from shock mount to shock mount, you know, including through the cage. There's not really anywhere you can see, but this diagonal bar that passes through and it goes all the way down to the opposite side frame rail, and same with this one. They land on the frame rails. You know, this thing's not fast, but I planned for it to be fast one day with the cage. I wanted this thing to really be safe and take rollovers well. You know, and part of this, I wanted just the targa bar for the look of a Samurai. But really what it is I've got double B pillars or double main hoops. So this thing's built like a tank. That's why it's a little heavy. But I just thought I'd show this. I don't really get that. I don't take this stuff apart very often. And that kind of hides some of the cooler looking stuff on this thing, I think. You see I've got that big speaker back here. That's my siren. I got to use that once to pass somebody at King of Hammers, I believe the second year. We actually made a nice pass on somebody out in the desert. But that way they can hear you coming. You can warn them to get out of your way. Hopefully next time I'll get to use it more, have some more speed. But so I'm basically kind of getting a rough idea of where these are going to go. Trying to get their length set so that once I pull this loop off, there's this loop right here. So one hose can connect there and one to the other end, which is basically where the heater core lines up on the original setup. So I'm trying to get these all figured out and where they're going to be, the length, so that when I pop that loose, I can quickly get these on and lose as little coolant as possible. When I run this without a windshield, I've got an aluminum filler panel that kind of blocks off the dash there. Unfortunately, with the windshield on, it has to come off. So one of these days I'm gonna pull this down and kind of clean up a lot of this wiring. It's honestly a mess. A lot of this was done in a hurry. You know, the wiring was basically the last thing we did on it. And we were down to the wire, like, I think we wired it less than a week before we left for the first race. So it was a mad dash. So one day it's my goal. I'm trying to think of a cool new color scheme to do. And when I do, most likely the frame will change color. So I'm trying to get that figured out and then do a complete tear down, you know, check for cracks. There's a couple little modifications I want to do, and then repaint it, and then rewire it as well. So getting close. I got the downpipe on, and these two hoses are almost done. And yeah, as soon as I get these pipes, time for the dyno. All right, so I'm still plugging away on little details. Got all this water line stuff hooked up. I talked to the tuner again, and he suggested getting rid of the catalytic converter. I got this little kind of mini cat. I believe this was from Flowmaster. I don't remember exactly, either that or MagnaFlow. So basically, I had a junction in my system right behind it. So I'm replacing it with this straight section of 2-inch. This is all stainless. I figured while I'm replacing stuff, I might as well make it nicer. So from this point on, out the back, I've only got about 3 more feet of system. That's honestly something I've been wanting to replace anyway. So I'm just gonna keep working my way down. So I got a new oxygen sensor bung. I got another one of his nice V-bands from the True Mandrel bending solutions. And then there'll be another one on this end, because I just had like a kind of a male-female slip fit right here. And I hate those. It's just, when I built the Samurai in a hurry, that was the easiest thing for me to work with at that time. So I've got to get this, there's like the female section that's about this long on the pipe back there. I got to get that cut off, and then just tack in all of the V-band pieces. And then once I get it all tacked up, I'm going to take this section back to that hot rod shop and have this all TIG welded. I might as well spend a couple extra bucks while I'm working on this and make it nice. So that's good. You know, I had put this cat on here after my first King of the Hammers race because I wanted to be able to drive this on the road occasionally. And I honestly haven't. I drove it a couple times, you know, to work and stuff just for fun, but I really haven't driven it since. I've actually, you know, here in Oregon, we get 2-year tags on our license plates. And, you know, when that tag expired, I didn't re-up it. It just wasn't worth it. So this is just a, you know, a restriction for the turbo. So turbos hate back pressure. So getting rid of this, and depending on how loud it is, I may get rid of my muffler as well. Because honestly, the turbo acts as a muffler to some extent. I've got this, it's a Flowmaster, kind of this, they used to be called Hush Power. I don't know, it wasn't called that when I bought this one. But I like the tone of it and stuff. So I may get rid of that. We'll see. When I first built this thing, I had a 8-inch long cherry bomb, and it was loud. So I switched out to that, so I'm gonna get this stuff finished up, and I'll show you when I've got it all put together. Okay, so where I last left off, talking about getting rid of the cat. So it's just about finished. You can see the downpipe, and then the section that replaced the cat, and the V-band here. You know, this is what's left of the system, where it basically just goes up over the axle into the muffler. So for now, this is where the new stuff's gonna end. I've got most of it welded. The top side of this pipe, there's about 1.5 inches. I've got to pull these hangers loose and get that to drop down, because you can get the gun through here, but just can't quite get the right angle on it. So hopefully I can pull those hangers and get that to drop and finish it up. And so that's it for the exhaust. So unfortunately, I'm still waiting. I'm on the weekend now. The guy was hoping to have these pipes finished up for me by the end of the week, but he's a busy guy, so didn't quite get to it. So I'm gonna wrap up this video here. I'm basically down to installing the 2 charge pipes, the inner air filter hose or intake, whatever you want to call it. You know, and that little weld, and then just fluids, put it back together, and it's ready to dyno. Once I've got the intake pipe in place, I do need to do some insulating and some heat shielding. I do have like the little fiberglass boots to finish putting on all the spark plugs. The pipe itself, I have some material, reflective material I'm going to put on there to keep this heat from heating up the air before it comes in. Probably need to wrap these, the first foot or so of these. I do have like a turbine housing blanket for this turbo on order that'll wrap around that guy. Because I'm kind of worried about the shock, and you know, it's a lot of heat and a lot of stuff in a small spot. But getting down to the end of this project. I got this pulled off and painted, so that's 100% done. Yeah, the hoses are finished. Yeah, it's just basically a couple little things. I need to make I have some self-adhesive rubber sheet that I'm going to make a gasket that will be stuck to the bottom of this. So taking this on and off, I won't have to worry about damaging or losing the seal there. I will need to play around this aftermarket wastegate module thing here, actuator. Came with several springs, and I don't know what's in it, so I need to pop that apart, and this needs to be adjusted. Little stuff, but pretty much all the big stuff is all there now. Hopefully gonna get it today. After I post this video, I'm gonna finish that weld and get the fluids all in it, because I need to move this for a customer job I gotta do next week. But yeah, luckily the rest of this work is gonna go pretty fast. It's just gonna be a bunch of clamps and getting this all buttoned up. So I appreciate you watching this. If you're into this thing, give me a like and subscribe. You know, I kind of hate to ask for that kind of stuff, but it does help. Oops, it does help apparently get these videos spread out to more people. So anyway, thanks for watching, and appreciate your time.